It's not that often that you get to introduce a brand new car manufacturer to the UK market. This is Skywell, and this is the brand new BE11 electric SUV. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all you need to know about this new car. Hello, welcome back to the interface. My name's Alex, and this is the Skywell BE11. Now, the BE11 is a C-segment SUV, and that's one of the most popular segments of the market right now. And this one, like most new cars, is fully electric. Now, I'm not going to be overly surprised if you haven't heard of Skywell before. They're imported into the UK by Innovation Automotive that also have Ceres and DFSK. Skywell is known as Skyworth in its home country of China, and they make electric coaches, electric buses, and now, with the BE11, they're making electric cars too. Around the front, the BE11 is definitely quite plain and unoffensive. There's a lot of kit as standard too. Now we've got LED headlights here, we've got the Skywell badge, we've got some lights down here too, got parking sensors, a front-facing camera because all versions of the BE11 come with a 360-degree camera system, and we've got some various bits and pieces going on down here. It's definitely quite plain looking in its design, which again might be a positive for some people. Skywell haven't added any under-bonnet storage, and the bonnet itself is incredibly heavy as well. It's almost like doing a little bit of a workout to get it up there. That's so heavy. Anyway, there's nothing interesting going on under here. There's literally nothing to see. I'd imagine all the motors and things live under here. But we have got a top-up section for the screen wash as well. It's just plastic under here, which is, yeah, not too bad. And then, again, I have to try not to trap my fingers in here because this is incredibly heavy. While the front of the BE11 looks quite plain in design, the rear is at least a little bit more interesting. We do have a nice red light bar at the back here with Skywell spanned out in letters, which is quite cool. And we have got a nice load of bodywork too. Just down here, we have got a rear-facing camera, which is used for the 360-degree camera system. Opening up the boot is fairly easy. There's a button there to press, opens up by itself. And then in here is 467 litres of boot space. And these rear seats do fold down too. And that reveals over 1,000 litres of space. And then underneath the false floor, there is a little bit more storage. There is a subwoofer in the back of this one, which takes a bit more space up, as well as some tyre repair bits and pieces. There is also this load cover, which does feel a little bit cheap in design, but it does at least provide some privacy for your items. In the UK, there are two different versions of the Skywell BE11. One is 72 kilowatt hours and one is 86 kilowatt hours. The smaller of the two is from £36,995 and the larger is £39,995. Both batteries used are NMC, which has better cold weather performance than standard lithium ion. Both cars are also capable of 80 kilowatt DC and 11 kilowatt AC. On the larger battery pack, DC charging from 20 to 70% is 45 minutes and AC is 5 hours 30 minutes. For the front interior of the BE11, there's actually quite a lot to like in here. The quality is relatively good. There's a lot of tech as standard. That's one thing Skywell are actually quite proud of, is that the BE11 just comes with a bunch of tech as standard and lots of equipment too. One thing they say that is an edge over their rivals. We've got things like a nice big infotainment screen with support for wireless Apple CarPlay. We've also got a digital driver's display. We've got lots of safety tech as standard. We've got climate control. We've got a leather steering wheel. We've got leather and Alcantara seats. We've got adjustable seats as well. However, once you dig past those quite nice headlines, there are some things which are missing. One thing is heated seats isn't available on this car. Neither is a heated steering wheel, and using those two in conjunction can actually save you energy rather than using the climate control. That would have been quite nice. We also get this nice big sunroof too. The touchscreen, the infotainment, which I'll cover in my infotainment guide, which is a link in the top right corner or down below, is a little bit finicky to use sometimes. There's lots of hidden swipes and menus and things. So that would have been quite nice to have just a better built software stack on the infotainment screen, but that can always be fixed down the line. As I mentioned, these seats are relatively good. They are adjustable, just no heated seats. You can adjust the backrest, the height. It can go up and down and forward and stuff. Relatively good, and it gives you a bit more infinite adjustability in terms of like a manual seat, for example. Where it also falls apart is the steering wheel. So while the steering wheel is leather and there's lots of nice buttons on here, the adjustability is really poor. So that's as far as up and down as it goes. So it does adjust in and out quite far, which is quite good, but the adjustment up and down is very small. I'm struggling to get comfortable in here. The seat height for me right now is perfectly fine. I can see over the bonnet quite easily with lots of things I can see in here, but the steering wheel height needs to be a little bit lower, maybe about there. That would have been quite nice. But yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. Elsewhere, we've got two nice big cup holders with an adjustable cover. We also, down here, have got a wireless phone charging pad. There's a USB-A port with a CarPlay wireless adapter. Okay, so the car doesn't have wireless CarPlay out of the box, you have to use an adapter. Okie doke, that's interesting. And then we also got another 12-volt socket in there too. In this cubby hole, we have got a bit of storage in there, a nice bit of storage in there, which is all good to see. The only thing that's ergonomically weird about this car is where the gear selector is, because obviously in China they drive on the left-hand side of the car. The cup holders and the gear selection, in my opinion, should have been reversed too. Imagine if you've got a big drink in here and you need to move gears. I could see a drink being knocked over quite easily in here, which is a bit of an oversight really. It looks okay on the surface, it looks a little bit dated in places, and there is a handful of ergonomic issues that need to be addressed ideally. Where the BE11 really shines though is rear legroom. I've got so much space back here and my seat could go even further than it was. This seat is set up in my driving position. I'm around 5'7", I'm not very tall, but I can imagine if you are 6 foot and you are driving, the rear passengers aren't going to be affected. I've got so much room here. Got a completely flat floor in here because it's a bespoke EV, and there's absolutely tons of space, which is really, really good to see. We also got nice big windows. We've got wood on the doors here. We've got the speakers. Got electric windows and various things with nice soft materials everywhere. We've got Alcantara in pretty much all places in the back here too. And then down here as well, we have got two USB-A ports. It would be nice to see USB-C, and then possibly a 3-pin socket for UK. That might be a Hong Kong one. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, we've got vehicle to load as standard on this vehicle, and that says 220 volts at 10 amps. So that could run various appliances if you need it to. Sometimes the back seats in some cheaper electric SUVs do really suffer. On these, we do have Alcantara and leather, like the front seats. The leather material is a little bit low quality. It's a little bit rough, it feels quite plasticky, but the Alcantara definitely makes up for it, and that same material is on the door here too, which is nice. We have got two decent sized cup holders in this armrest here, but this armrest does feel a little bit cheap, and there's no load through hatch either. The sunroof too does extend the entire length of the cabin, and that's another highlight feature that Skywell claim is one of their unique features. So what are my first impressions on driving the new Skywell BE11? Well, I took it out for a little spin off camera, and the one thing that sticks out to me the most is the lack of sort of torque control from the car. This has only got around 200 horsepower roughly. I will put the exact figure on screen. So it's not the most powerful vehicle, but it doesn't seem to manage its power that well, which is a bit strange. So I'll demonstrate that later in the video, but it does seem to get wheel spin quite easily. The ride itself, these roads around Warwickshire aren't too bad actually. They're actually quite good, considering the state of UK roads at the moment. These are actually quite fine. The ride, I can feel a lot of the road. It's incredibly jiggly. You can just feel a lot of the road, and if the front goes over a bump, the rear goes over the bump as well, and you can feel it quite a lot. The steering itself is very, very vague. It's almost like the wheels and the steering wheel are in different time zones. What you do with the steering wheel seems to take a good few seconds to update on the road, which is really strange. And it just seems very, very vague, which is a little bit disconcerting. If you push the car a little bit harder than usual into corners, what you do see is a lot of body roll and a lot of lean, and it just gets a bit upset with some of the corners and things that you might go around. I think the driving issues can be fixed. They just need a different suspension setup. They just need possibly different tyres, because we're using some quite strange tyres on this car. I think they're called Gitty tyres. I'm sure because you can adjust the steering stiffness in the software, I'm sure they can recalibrate it in some way to make it a bit more forgiving to drive, if that's the right word, or just a bit more confidence-inducing to drive. That's probably better. But it's all right. It just, when you push it a little bit harder than you might do normally, or just in normal traffic, it just seems a little bit weird. And also the brake pedal is going to be the worst brake pedal I've ever used on a brand new vehicle. It's incredibly vague and incredibly spongy and very springy. It's almost like you're not pressing a brake pedal, you're pressing a sponge. It's very grabby, and it takes a lot of work to get the car to stop, even at 60 miles an hour, which is really strange. It is it's baffling, to be honest. Really, really baffling. So let's push the car a little bit harder now, so up to 60, and we'll try and brake and do various things here. So the steering is very vague. There's a real disconnect between the steering wheel and the wheels. It's incredibly bizarre, to be honest. There's enough delay to think it's just not connected. It's so weird. And if you do that, it's just not connected either. There's a really big delay between steering and the wheels moving. Again, at faster speeds, the ride is quite jiggly and just not that comfortable, even though the seats themselves are quite comfy for longer distances. There's so much lean in the corners too. It makes me slightly nervous, especially on a quite cold, icy day like today. I'm a little bit hesitant to go a bit all out and try and see how it handles. It makes me slightly nervous to drive it, to be honest. The other weird thing about the BE11 is the wheel spin. So if I come to quite a slow speed here and absolutely floor it, yep, got wheel spin at 25 miles an hour, which is so strange. If I come to a complete stop with the brakes, they need a lot of pressure to make work. Floor it. Wheel spin, wheel spin, wheel spin, torque steer. Wow, dearie me. And then we've got loads of body roll. It makes me, yeah, it's leaning and wobbling all over the place. And there's a lot of undulation between the back end and the front end. Very, very, very strange. On the positive side though, there isn't any annoying stuff telling me what to do. There's no speed limit warnings, there's no lane keep assist on the car. I'm not being annoyed at all by this vehicle. It's really, really, it's quite refreshing to get a brand new vehicle, a 74 plate no mind, and there's no weird warning sounds and nothing going on, which is really, really, really good. Before I wrap up here, one more test of the acceleration. Yeah, got a wheel spin out the corner, and again, and again, and again, and again. I'm really hoping you could hear that. I've never experienced a car with that much wheel spin. That's just absolutely mental. It's going to do the same round and roundabout, I think. And it's not even in sport mode. I'll stick it to sport mode, get a bit more acceleration. Yep, wheel spin. Absolutely crazy. So what are my first impressions of the brand new Skywell BE11? Well, the interior quality is really good. It's quite a nice interior to look at, if not slightly dated. And there are bits on it which need to be improved in places, but overall the interior quality is fine. The driving experience itself leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest. As I mentioned, the brake pedal is quite squishy, the steering is very vague and quite slow. It's relatively efficient, 3 miles per kilowatt hour I've been getting just today. I've only done about 30-40 miles. I think it has potential. Skywell as a brand has only just launched in the UK, but they do have other vehicles coming soon, such as a hatchback, a saloon car, and also a van. Now the van should be quite interesting because don't forget, Skywell in China, known as Skyworth, has had a lot of history making electric trucks, vans and buses, so the van should be quite good. This car, the BE11, leaves quite a bit to be desired, and I'm hoping they can get it sorted in time for when more customers seem to get deliveries. But that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think of the Skywell BE11 in the comments down below. Be really interested to see what you think. I've been Alex, and I'll see you again next time.